Graphing an absolute value inequality is the same as graphing an absolute value function in that the shape is the same and our process of getting the actual line is going to be the same. The difference comes within the fact that it's an inequality and no longer an equal sign. Therefore, we need to be able to decide, is this a solid or a dashed line? And we need to decide where we are going to shade. I really want you to think about shading in terms of on top of the line or underneath the line. Please don't try to memorize whether it's inside or outside of the V shape. On top of the line, meaning the shading is sitting on top of the line, or underneath the line, meaning the shading is underneath the line, will really give you a clear-cut picture. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one. Remember that to graph, we need to be able to identify that H and K value as well as the A value, because those are the points that help us move. When it comes time for a quiz or a test, you need to make sure that you're including this H, K, and A value, because that will be your work to show me. A, remember, is the number in front of the absolute value. So when there's nothing written, that means it's just a 1. H, since there's nothing added or subtracted inside of the absolute value, it will stay as a 0. And K will be the -2 outside of the absolute value. This means that I'm going to have a point at 0, -2 to start us off. I'm going to move from that point by going up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, all the way across. You want to get at least a few points to make sure that you're accurate, but you don't have to continue it all the way across as far as the dotting of points go. But it does help us get a good shape, especially because we have to reflect over here and go up 1, left 1 for our other points. Now, before you go to connect those dots, take a look at the inequality symbol. This is an inequality symbol that does not have an equal to, so I'm going to use dashed or dotted lines when I'm connecting these dots. Oops, I went a little too far. Make sure that you include arrows on the end to indicate that you know that this graph does continue moving on forever. And now we need to look at shading. When we have y on the left and it is greater than, y is greater than, we will shade where the y values are going up, which is on top of the line. Let's take a look at number 2. For number 2, we need to identify our H, K, and our A value. Now, for number 2, we actually have an A value that's 1 on the outside, but how we move is actually going to be dependent on this -3 here. Whenever you have a number in front of the x, it also tells you how it's going to move. H and K in this example are both 0 because nothing is being added or subtracted. So that means that I'm going to have a point at 0, 0. And this -3 will indicate that I'm going to go down 3 and right 1. Down 3 and right 1. Then to get the other half of my V, I'll need to move down 3 and left 1. It does have an equal to symbol for the inequality, so I can use a solid line to connect these. And this is also a greater than symbol. Y is greater than. So we are going to shade on top of the line or where the Y's are going up. Let's look at our next example, number 3. So for number 3, we have an A value of 4. H is the opposite of what it appears to be, so it's positive 1. And K is 2. This means that we're going to have a point at 1, 2, and we will be moving up 4 and right 1. And then to get the other half of the V, we'll move up 4 and left 1. It does not have an equal to, so we should be using a dotted line or dashed line. Oops. This says that Y is less than, so we will shade under the line or where the Y axis is pointing down. Let's take a look at number 4. Our A value is going to be negative 1/2. Our H value, opposite of what it appears to be, so it's negative 2. And finally, K is negative 3. So we will have a point at negative 2, then negative 3. From that point, we will move down 1, right 2. Then to get the other half of our V, we'll mirror those points by going down 1, left 2. We should use a solid line because it has an equal to symbol. As for shading, Y is less than, so we will shade under the line or where the Y's are going down.